seem to be in full-scale retreat from spending cuts and are talking about raising people's taxes again. And I have only one thing to say to the tax increasers. Go ahead, make my day.
If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. Those who would trade our freedom for security have embarked on this downward course. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell
Let me
is on now.
Start by saying, number one, Joe, let me start by saying this. I really like my life. I'm not suicidal in any way and love my family, and everything is good with them. So want to start with that. We are going to get into more of what we covered yesterday. Welcome to the program. Yesterday, we covered a story where the governor's son, apparently they thought it was a good idea to take the governor's son on a trip to China in search of economic development dollars. Asa Hutchinson III, who works for the governor's law firm. I feel like it's important that that's what we call it, because it is the governor's law firm, because the governor has his name on it. The governor is using his name, and his son uses his name to tout up how great the law firm is, an international globalist law firm that is doing quite well for itself. If it has an office in China, a new office in Madrid, in Spain. Oh, by the way, it wasn't lost on me the fact of the if you read in the news, Spain is actually getting pretty totalitarian in the way they're treating their citizens, something that now Spain would probably have in common with the communist government of China. So they're on this economic development tour. We're going to get to some developing news on this. We do have a new angle on this, and it's pretty simple. All you got to do is go to the Asa Hutchinson Law Group, which is the governor's law firm, and you look at the corporate clients represented. Walmart. Maybe we're finally getting an answer as to why Asa Hutchinson back in 2015 didn't want to sign the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. You look at these Chinese companies, Rise Ever, getting $1 million from the governor's Quick Action Closing Fund. You look at TY Garments, which is where the original photo happened. You had in China at TY Garments, the governor, Mike Preston, and Asa 3. And Asa 3 posted this on his LinkedIn account, and this is what started the whole, essentially, I actually feel like a complete moron. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. All this was right here in front of me the whole time. I feel like a complete and total moron. I feel like I failed you guys, but you know what? There's a plan and purpose for everything, and we are here now. And so now people are starting to dig into more of the clients on this website. Dragon Woodland, Max Brantley over at the Arkansas Times, he posted a story on this. We got off the air at 8 and covered it basically the entire show. We got off there at 8. Max Brantley at the Arkansas Times posted his article around 2 o'clock yesterday, and he reached out, and we're going to cover that in a minute. Let's go to conduitforaction.org first. This is a very good write-up, headline, Biden and Ukraine, Asa and China. So for those of you out there right now, I would encourage you, if your friends don't know what's going on, we've done a few things, and they're linked in this article. Scroll down to the bottom of the article, Joe. We tried to make this as comprehensive as we could because the people of Arkansas, really the American people, need to know this. It's also not lost on me, by the way, that leave it to Asa Hutchinson to give the Democrats cover. And what I mean by that is this may get picked up in a national story, but not for the reasons that I would want. It would get picked up in a national story to hurt Trump and to help Joe Biden and Hunter Biden, because this is a national story, would actually help the Democrats say, see, it's no big deal. Father and son do business in China all the time, right? And Republicans do it and Democrats do it. But if you'll scroll down on this article, and by the way, it's up at Conduit News as well. This is my segment yesterday, Arkansas governor's son and his Chinese clients. Okay? That's number one. Okay? But you've also got this article as well. So then right below that, we have the video that you see on a loop that we've been playing for a couple of weeks during our online breaks. Asa undermines Trump, Pence on communist China, which is a very damning video. One of the best things we've ever done. And then we have one interview of many, but one interview, Congressman Rick Crawford warns against trusting China. So if you've got friends that don't know what's going on, this article is meant to be as comprehensive as you can about what has happened and what we know in the past, okay? I'm sorry, what is new and also what we know, okay? All right, so again, it's up there right now, conduitforaction.org. Please go share it as we try to get the truth to the people of Arkansas, because at this point, with everything that we know, I feel like this will grow. There will be a groundswell for calls of for resignation, and I'll tell you more on that in a minute when we start looking at more of these clients. It's not just T.Y. Garments from Shandong. It's not just Rise Ever, the other Chinese company. Or it's not just Dragon Woodland that, the Arkansas Economic Development Commission's championed because they're taking our trees and sending them back to China. It's not just that, okay? We're going to get to it here. It's domestic companies as well, locally. Governor Asa Hutchinson is one of the few Republicans to join Democrats in calling for a probe of President Donald Trump for urging the Ukraine government to investigate former Vice President Joe Biden and his son Hunter. Did you know that? Did you know that? That's sourced. Go down to the bottom. What's the source? Arkansas Online. Arkansas governor says Trump's call Ukraine leader. It's just and Arkansas governor backs further inquiry. He says that the impeachment inquiry, the bogus impeachment inquiry several weeks ago, he said that it needs to be vetted because it was unwise. Quote, the governor said it was unwise for the president to make that Ukraine phone call with President Zelensky of Ukraine. Huh. That's interesting right there. And by the way, it's just backed up. It's in the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. Now questions have arisen over whether Asa Hutchinson and his son, Asa 3, have their own Hunter Biden-type situation, but instead of it being with the Ukraine, it's China. Was the Hutchinson Chinese connection a factor in the governor wanting to investigate the president and not Biden? You may recall, while Joe Biden was vice president, his son Hunter Biden got a sweetheart deal of $50,000 a month to sit on the board of a Ukrainian gas company despite no experience in the industry. When the Ukrainian government began investigating the company for corruption, Joe Biden and the Obama administration pressured Ukraine to drop the investigation. We've got emails of this now, by the way. They're all over the place. Representatives from Burisma were using the name Hunter Biden, the Biden is the key point, to get the United States to stop this investigation. I saw one this morning, as a matter of fact. So Governor Hutchinson's son, Asa 3, posted this on his LinkedIn social media on Tuesday. Quote, despite the tariff wars, state and local governments in China and the U.S. can still collaborate to strengthen our economic ties. Thank you, Tianyan Garments, for bringing us together. #trade. His post included this picture of him, his father, with the Chinese delegation, as well as the Arkansas Secretary of Commerce, Mike Preston. On Tuesday, Asa 3 also posted about more Chinese connections. On Facebook, he posted he was in Beijing at the residence of the U.S. ambassador. And let's just stop right here. Let's go ahead and give you some new information. If you had any doubt that Asa 3 was in China, now, Max Brantley is reporting that the government is saying that Asa 3 traveled to China on his own dime, and he's not part of the official U.S. delegation. Well, good news is if that's true, it should be easy to vet with correspondence between the U.S. State Department and the government of the state of Arkansas. That should be pretty easy to vet. But he is there, and it doesn't even matter if he's on his own dime or not. Asa 3 would not be there if he wasn't making money, because TY Garments is a client of his and his father's. His name is on the way. I will not be surprised if before the delegation returns to America, back to Arkansas by November the 9th, I will not be surprised if Asa Hutchinson's name is not completely scrubbed from his law firm's website, meaning the governor's name. I will not be surprised if it's not completely scrubbed by the time they return, by the time the wheels touch down on November the 9th, back in good old USA. I will not be surprised if his name isn't completely scrubbed from the website. If you had any doubt, there is a man on LinkedIn by the name of Dr. Tim Klatt. He is a partner head of the Shanghai Forensic Advisory Services at Grant Thornton, China. You see this, he posted this 2 days ago. Honored to join tonight's embassy reception of government and business leaders from Arkansas, and great to reconnect with U.S. Ambassador Branston. There's a few photos that he goes through. You see them there. Go ahead and click through those photos. There's the invitation, the Ambassador of the United States. There's one. Again, this guy, Dr. Klatt. There's another one. There's a bald head over there to the right. I wonder who that is. Who do you think that is? Keep going. It looks like Asa 3's the back of his head, but I don't know. I haven't really studied the back of his head until the last couple of hours. And there's the governor giving an address at this embassy event, and then we have this next photo. Can we blow that up for a second? I think we've got that in the preview queue. There we go. So this is the photo that this Dr. Tim Klatt puts on his LinkedIn, and if we zoom in there, we can see, well, there's Asa. There's Mike Preston, and then there's Asa the Third. Half of his head is kind of, you can't really see all of his head, but there it is, like a cue ball there. So, he's a part of official state events. He's right there with his dad. This looks horrible because he's got Chinese clients. He's probably trying to get more Chinese clients. What's the over-under? How much a month is TY Garments paying the governor's law firm? How much? How much per month is Rise Ever paying the governor's law firm? How much per month is Dragon Woodland paying the governor's law firm? How much per month is Walmart paying the governor's law firm? They're listed on the website as corporate clients. How much per month? Let's go back to the Conduit article. Does it look like the Biden family, the Hutchinson family, is cashing in on the governor's power and influence and his control of piles of your money? Absolutely, that's what this is. And, I really thought about this all evening last night. They have got to be rationalizing it. There's no way that they're not rationalizing this in some way to where they think that they're totally fine. There's nothing unethical about this. There's nothing immoral about this. And the only way, if I to try to put myself in their shoes, how would you rationalize this type of graft, this maybe technically legal graft, although I'm not sure anymore, quite honestly. I think we're borderline illegal here. But how would you, and there needs to be an Attorney General investigation. The Attorney General for the state of Arkansas needs to be investigating this right now. How would you justify this? The only thing I could think of is they think they're creating jobs. And if they're creating jobs for all of us poor folks back home with a median average income of $40,000 a year, and they're doing this for us, these elites, these aristocrats serving Arkansas, and they are martyrs. So we're not going to deny ourselves a decent living. I mean, look at all these jobs that we're creating for the commoners by doing business with the Chinese. That is the only way I think you could just, and of course it's preposterous, but they've got to justify it somehow, right? Because if they're not justifying in their mind somehow that there's nothing wrong with anything they're doing, then the other option is that they're literally over in the corner, rubbing their hands together, doing the Inspector Gadget villain laugh. What was his Dr. Claw laugh, Let's keep going. Governor Hutchinson has championed Chinese businesses at a time when the Trump administration is trying to stop China's unfair advantage in trade. At a time when Arkansas Congressman Rick Crawford, who is on the House Intelligence Committee, is warning Arkansas businesses, don't trust China. And it comes at a time when China is still demolishing churches and mosques and arresting their followers, selling their organs. Did you know the governor still has a law firm, the Asa Hutchinson Law Group? He and his son, Asa III, are listed as lawyers. The governor's ethics form does not show any income from his law firm, his a statement of financial interest, the Asa Hutchinson Law Group. So either he is not taking any money from the firm while he is in office, or he is taking income below the reporting level. Even if the governor is not taking a penny from his law firm, he is still lending his name to the business, which benefits his son and growing the law firm for the future. After he is no longer in public office, Governor Asa Hutchinson stands to walk into that law firm and make, I would assume, a pretty decent amount in retainer. Next, let's look at who the firm lists as clients and see if there's any chance they're Chinese clients. Yes, the firm represents TY Garments. We told you that yesterday. A Chinese company with a factory in Little Rock, and which has benefited from Arkansas incentives. In other words, your tax dollars going to a Chinese communist company. It's really an entity disguised as a company, and they have contracted in some form with the governor's law firm that his son is using. And then there's RiseEver, another Chinese company that recently located in Jonesboro after receiving incentives funded by your tax money. While ACE's Arkansas Economic Development Commission is giving your money to the Chinese to locate companies in Arkansas, the Asa Hutchinson Law Group is cashing in by representing the Chinese companies considering coming to Arkansas or wanting a smoother ride after locating here. Skipping down, what do you think about this? This is Joe and Hunter Biden, and I think the beginning of this article hits it off. Why was Asa saying that, we need to investigate the president for his phone call, trying to get the Ukraine to investigate Hunter Biden and Joe Biden? Now, it says right here at the end of this article, scroll down, tune in to Conduit News with Paul Harrell on Thursday to hear details about another client contract. Let's go to do that right now. Here are the new developments in the last 24 hours. This is what we found. You see that company right there named iStation? Joe, first let's go to the iStation website. iStation listed as a client. There we go. Now, this is an education group. Blended learning for reading, math, and Spanish. The governor's law firm represents corporately this company called iStation. They are a vendor that provides educational services, reading, math, Spanish. They test our students. And I say our students because I mean Arkansas students. This company, iStation, that is represented by the governor's law firm, has secured a contract with the Arkansas Department of Education for $3.7 million. Go to the PDF. Let's blow it up. We've got a PDF down there. There we go. Here's the copy of the terms of the contract with Imagination Station with the Department of Education. It's right there. Scroll down. $3.787, $3,787,200 is what this contract is worth. It's for tech services, exams, testing. You know, I'm so glad it didn't say computer coding. Can you imagine if that would have said computer coding is like the governor's claim to fame, right? He's like, oh, well, we've got all this computer coding. Could you imagine if this wasn't for testing and instead it was for computer coding? You know what? It doesn't make any difference. The governor's law firm is representing iStation, and they just happen to get a $3.7 million contract with your taxpayer dollars. And you don't think that iStation doesn't tie the portion of that right back into the Asa Hutchinson Law Group? Calls for resignation don't even, that's an understatement at this point. Yes, Joe.
So he's been hanging out with the Chinese.
I'm sorry, put you in program one. I keep taking out of program one for recording. Go ahead.
So he's been hanging out with the Chinese so much, most people would say, under my gubernatorial terms, this such and such. No, under my governor's reign.
What are you? Is that a movie?
No. So like most people would think a reign is more like a king or
yeah,
emperor.
It's also an energy drink, but yeah.
Yeah. It's like a king or an emperor of some kind, but or like the Chinese government, they have reigns and
that's
eras.
true. Yeah, regimes.
Regimes.
Mm-hmm.
Under my gubernatorial reign.
I don't know what's going to come of this. There's way more shoes to drop here, I feel like, because there are so many people looking into this now. I can't tell you what's happened over the last 24 hours, but my phone's pretty much been blowing up the whole time, and we're going to keep going with this. This is the news. Folks, we were going to – listen, this right here is not just this isn't just about China. The China stuff is bad, but – even with domestic companies, this is a company out of Texas. This is absolutely scandalous, and it's shameful, and we're going to keep covering it. Again, I love my life. I love my family. Okay? So
same.
Yeah, Joe does too. We are not suicidal at all here. And I'm sorry to have to even say that. It just is what it is. So we're going to take a break. Don't go anywhere. Back in just a moment.
Folks, as a taxpayer or business owner, I know the government rarely gives the people a break. Big government politicians seem to always want more money from us, taxpayers. So if you want to support the work we're doing right here at Conduit News, bringing you the truth, then why not consider giving less money to the government that never stops overspending and overtaxing us by giving a tax-deductible donation to Conduit for Commerce, the premier organization in Arkansas that never stops promoting small business and limited government. Just go to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Support Our Cause. From there, you can decide if you want to donate monthly or one time. Give the government that's using your tax dollars to grow and grow less, and give the people fighting for your values more. Conduitforcommerce.org.
As we speak, Beijing is employing a whole-of-government approach.
Need your daily news fix? Don't forget to tune in to Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
All right, don't forget, share the article. You can go to conduitforaction.org. Biden in Ukraine, Asa in China. Share it. We're trying to make this as comprehensive as we can because this is really just about getting the truth. Yeah, I mean, it's a scandal. I wish it was. Honestly, I wish it wasn't the case. I don't know what to tell you. I have asked myself over the last 24 hours how I don't understand the boldness. I honestly don't understand why Asa III would be posting photos of himself with Chinese delegation and his father, knowing that the client, he's got these clients. It's just, cluelessness doesn't begin to describe it either, because with Hunter Biden and Joe Biden, and the stuff that they're going to find about Hunter Biden and Joe Biden in the Ukraine, there's also a huge story about Hunter Biden and Joe Biden in China. As a matter of fact, we're going to be talking to Brigadier General Robert S. Spalding coming up at 7:33 this morning about the Chinese train. I talked to General Spalding yesterday about this story and sent him all the relevant documents as well, so I'll get his reaction to that. Coming up, we are going to talk a little bit, and I know we've got all this news. We're going to continue talking about this. We're going to break from this story, and we're going to move into the Pope County FOIA decision, okay? Freedom of Information Act, and the judge and what he did there. We're going to have Conduit contributor Hannah Webb Howard on the program next. She's going to analyze this for us. Then we're going to come right back into this and push through and folks, we've got to get as many people understanding this as we can. This is not somebody, and by the way, this is not just the ultra-conservatives on the right that disagree with everything that Ace has done, or, that's what they would claim. This is also folks on the left. You've got Max Brantley now, okay? Who, by the way, Max Brantley would tell you that Joe Biden and Hunter Biden, he's on record saying it was no big deal. It's a conspiracy theory, but he is actually covering Asa and Son and them fleecing the taxpayer.
Folks, as a taxpayer or business owner, I know the government rarely gives the people a break. Big government politicians seem to always want more money from us, taxpayers. So if you want to support the work we're doing right here at Conduit News, bringing you the truth, then why not consider giving less money to the government that never stops overspending and overtaxing us by giving a tax-deductible donation to Conduit for Commerce, the premier organization in Arkansas that never stops promoting small business and limited government. Just go to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Support Our Cause. From there, you can decide if you want to donate monthly or one time. Give the government that's using your tax dollars to grow and grow less, and give the people fighting for your values more. Conduitforcommerce.org.
Using political, economic, and military tools as well as propaganda to advance its influence and benefit its interests in the United States.
And I have wanted to welcome back to Arkansas Chairman Chu. Please give Chairman Chu a round of applause.
China is also applying this power in more proactive ways than ever before to exert influence and interfere in the domestic policy and politics of this country.
Chairman Chu, I got to know as he is the CEO and chairman of Shandong Ruyi Technology Group out of Shandong Province.
Over the past 17 years, China's GDP has grown ninefold. It's become the second largest economy in the world. Much of this success was driven by American investment in China. And the Chinese Communist Party has also used an arsenal of policies inconsistent with free and fair trade, including tariffs, quotas, currency manipulation, forced technology transfer, intellectual property theft, and industrial subsidies that are handed out like candy to foreign investment.
We've been to Shandong Province a number of times since I've been governor. We've called on people, and Chairman Chu gave us the opportunity to meet with him at Ruyi, at their technology group there in Shandong, and saw his incredible facility. We asked him to visit Arkansas. He did. So Chairman Chu, we're delighted to have you here. I'm excited about signing this agreement with you, and I welcome you to Arkansas.
These policies have built Beijing's manufacturing base at the expense of its competitors, especially the United States of America.
And I wanted to recognize Chairman Lee to.
All right, folks, hey, welcome back to the program. Thanks so much for being with us, as always. I've got this article here. We've been talking about this Pope County casino issue for a long time. Obviously, last week we know there was that ruling. The ruling that the ordinance to have the vote was unconstitutional. That's going to be appealed. Eventually, it's going to be, going to the Supreme Court. I think it's always, that was going to happen. But then there was also the Freedom of Information Act question, whether or not their Pope County officials have had secret meetings. I mean, I definitely think they've had secret meetings, but the judge's ruling on whether or not the secret meetings were in violation of the Freedom of Information Act, if that was actually what he did, has come under a lot of public scrutiny. This article here, I'll go ahead and show it to you guys. Northwest Arkansas editorial, public but not public. You see this right here. Judge's ruling threatens transparency, accountability. It's from the Northwest Arkansas Democrat Gazette. Just a few of the excerpts here. A judicial robe does not impart perfection. Justice donning one in church won't turn a tone-deaf congregate into basically a Luciano Pavarotti. Indeed, they cover flawed humans attempting to perform their roles. And so they go into essentially just say, the Freedom of Information Act needs to be upheld. I wanted to bring in Conduit contributor, also law school student. Her name is Hannah Webb Howard. She joins us again. Hannah, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, sorry for that long intro, but have you been following this at all?
So I have been following it, and, I have extensively gone through this order from the judge in this case, and particularly the FOIA section of it. And so there's two things that I really want to talk about. First, there's this comment he makes in the order which says the Supreme Court of Arkansas has held that contact between board members before a meeting does not necessarily equate to a FOIA open meetings violation. Okay, that's correct technically, but I want to kind of dive into that a little bit. And so the other part that I want to talk about is when the judge goes on to dismiss this case, he says, to the extent that there was a FOIA violation, that violation was cured, at least as to the relief sought by the plaintiff, which is the most important line of that section, by an open meeting which subjects plaintiff to a FOIA claim dismissal under Rule 12b-6. So a couple of disclaimers before we dive into this. It's a super kind of complex technical legal issue that happened here. It's terrible policy. I mean, it allows for exactly what happened here. It's terrible policy, and I don't agree with the policy, and I think that this is letting them kind of shuffle some things under the rug. But it's the law, and technically, the judge did it correct here. So kind of diving into that.
Now, so how did the judge do it correct? Is it just like you saying it's like a procedural thing?
It's a very technical procedural issue. So essentially, what this judge has done, he hasn't said, "Oh, substantively, citizens of Polk County, you lose." He basically is saying, procedurally, you have not proven enough of your case to let this case go forward anymore. And so, you'll hear a lot of times cases are lost in the procedure of it. And so that's exactly what happened here. So, first of all, his comment about, necessarily contact between board members is not necessarily a meeting. Okay, that's true, but you've got to understand that the court has found that term meeting to be very, very broad. And so the court has found, even in the statute says informal meetings can be meetings. So they don't have to, bang the gavel and say, okay, we've got a quorum, here we're having a meeting. Meetings are much more than that. So let's say a couple of the board members get together on a Friday night, and they are going to substantively talk about something that's going to happen, some board matter or issue. That's a meeting because they're talking about, board-related issues substantively. And so in contrast, the court has found when a member gave other members of the board just information, it was a memo with information. Well, the court said, okay, that's not a meeting because you're just giving them background information. But there's been a case in Arkansas where one of the board members called individually on the phone, each member of the county, getting their input on whether he should purchase this piece of land. And so he called them each individually and then purchased the land. And then later, after the land was purchased, they held a meeting and approved his purchase. Well, the court said each of those individual calls in a sequence like that was a meeting. And so the definition of a meeting is very, very broad. But what's important about what this order says, the order never concedes that there were secret meetings. They just, they call them alleged secret meetings. They don't ever come out and say, yes, there were secret meetings. So that's a big point, that he never agreed that there were secret meetings.
Wow.
No.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is the media has reported about these meetings. There are many people who don't even question that the meetings were done in secret. I mean, there's even, county officials on record saying, yes, we met, but there was nothing wrong with the fact that we met,
Right. And so that would have been one of those issues that most definitely would have been fleshed out had this case been able to go forward. And so, and that's the thing, if 2-3 of these people met and they had any substantive conversation about matters that were going to be voted on or to eventually have a meeting on, that is a meeting within FOIA, period. It is. And so that's one of those issues that because this case isn't going to be able to go forward, we may not ever flesh out.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
as
hopefully they're
far
going to
as
appeal it.
the
I mean,
court is
hopefully,
concerned.
yeah. I mean, I'm told there will be an appeal, so that's still in play, right?
Correct. Yeah. So if
Okay.
they appeal this, we may see a whole nother. We may get to flesh it out.
Yeah.
And so moving on from that, basically what the judge did next is he said, well, even if there were meetings, the fact that they held an open meeting afterwards made it okay. It cured the FOIA violation. So
Really?
here's
So
why-
oh my goodness. So he's saying because that's fascinating. So they eventually did come together and vote on it, and voted for the Cherokee casino. And so, oh wow,
Correct.
that's nuts. That's his assertion. Okay, go ahead, Hannah. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine. So policy-wise, you're right. It's absurd. But so here's why that can happen. So, when there's a FOIA violation, okay, we can all agree it's a FOIA violation, in any type of situation. But what do you do about it? What is the remedy? So, in the law, we call it a remedy. What can you do about it? So there's several different options. Some of them are laid out in the law. In the FOIA law, it says, you can get X, Y, Z if there's been a FOIA violation. But in this context, the citizens of Pope County wanted to invalidate the vote that happened at that subsequent meeting. So, several years ago, in a case in the Arkansas Supreme Court, the court essentially created this remedy of invalidation. So the court said, FOIA is broad. We're supposed to read it broadly. We're always supposed to err on the side of transparency. And so because of that, we are going to allow laws or resolutions or ordinances that are passed in these subsequent meetings to be invalid if the person can prove first that they gave warning to the governing body. They gave warning, you're not supposed to do this. You need to hold a meeting in the public. So they've got to give them that warning. And then if that governing body turns around and has a meeting in the public, well, then that's okay. But if they don't, so let's say that, they contact them and say, you're supposed to be having these meetings in the public. Okay. Well, then next they have to prove that they want this meeting in the public because of public matters, because they care about the public, not for some self-serving interest. And then third, they have to prove that the violation is substantial. And then fourth, they have to prove that the governing body has knowingly violated the FOIA Act. And so the reason that they put so many restrictions on proving this is because, the court was like, invalidating a resolution is a pretty drastic measure. And so to do that, we're going to make it difficult to show that and allow the governing body to fix the issue. So that's the law surrounding what has happened here.
Wow.
And that's how we got this law. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, so to apply that to what happened in Polk County, and here's what the judge did. So essentially the judge said, okay, well, even if there were secret meetings, citizens of Polk County, you have not proven, and by proven, in their briefs and pleadings that they submitted to the court, you have not shown to us that you contacted them about these meetings and they kept holding them in secret after you contacted them. So that's the important part. So they're saying, well, they ended up having this open meeting. And once they had that open meeting, you no longer have proved step one of the four things that you have to prove. But there's a disclaimer to this open meeting. The open meeting cannot just be a vote. The open meeting has to be one where public comment can be taken. They flesh the issue out. They talk about it in detail. They let people protest and object. They let people voice their
but I see what you're saying. Yeah, and they're saying that they did that, and so it's totally fine, regardless of the fact we were straw polling, regardless of the fact we met with the Cherokee, regardless of all that, we did that in secret. But now that we're doing it in public now, you know, you had the opportunity to change our minds and that sort of thing. So
right.
Yeah.
So they're basically saying, okay, we fixed it. And so here's the thing. This type of situation is unique to only people who want the statute to be invalidated. So if you're just seeking an injunction, if you just want declaratory judgment, it's different. And so one thing that I have an issue with the judge said, he said this cured the violation. Well, it didn't cure the violation. It's still a violation. You just can't get the relief that you want.
Yeah.
And so that's a little bit misleading. And this could have been totally different if all they had done was say, okay, we're going to vote on this. Now, that would have changed everything. That would not have been okay. But giving this specific remedy sought in this specific fact pattern, essentially, that's what made it okay. And so the judge isn't saying, oh, Pope County, you lose. He's saying, well, you didn't prove each element to get this remedy, and so because of that, I have to dismiss your case.
Wow.
And so that's that very subtle difference about what happened.
Hannah Webb Howard, we appreciate it. Thanks so much for coming on, talking about this. It's going to go forward. I know they're going to appeal this, and you know, regardless of what happened, it certainly violates the spirit of the concept of, you know, open, transparent government. And
exactly.
I certainly hope
so
that something changes. Yeah.
And that's one of these things. So the good thing about a situation like this, it can be fixed. All that has to happen is the legislator could say, oh, we see this huge problem and gap in the law, and we need to fix it. And so that's just what it's going to take from here. And so hopefully that will happen, because, I mean, it's terrible policy. It's a loophole.
Yeah.
And
well,
it's gotta be
and
fixed.
we'll see what happens on the appeal, too, because you never know. You never know what's going to
Absolutely.
happen. All right. We appreciate it, Hannah. Thanks so much.
Absolutely.
All right, we're going to
Thanks
take
for
a
having
break.
me, Paul.
Okay, back in a minute, folks. Folks, as a taxpayer or business owner, I know the government rarely gives the people a break. Big government politicians seem to always want more money from us, taxpayers. So if you want to support the work we're doing right here at Conduit News, bringing you the truth, then why not consider giving less money to the government that never stops overspending and overtaxing us by giving a tax-deductible donation to Conduit for Commerce, the premier organization in Arkansas that never stops promoting small business and limited government. Just go to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Support Our Cause. From there, you can decide if you want to donate monthly or one time. Give the government that's using your tax dollars to grow and grow less, and give the people fighting for your values more. Conduitforcommerce.org.
My right, who is the founder of Sun Paper of Shandong Province in China. I also want to recognize Secretary Ma of Shandong Province.
As President Trump said just this week, in his words, we rebuilt China over the last 25 years.
Last November, as you know, I traveled to Shandong Province. I met with Chairman Lee. I toured Sun Paper Company along with Mike Preston. While in China, we signed a letter of intent on behalf of the state of Arkansas with Sun Paper, indicating that Sun Paper wanted to put a major bioproducts mill in.
Bob Maloney here with a developing story from ASA News The Parrot. China is coming to Arkansas. We go live to the press conference where the Communist Chinese executive is addressing Arkansans for the first time. Let's listen into the translator.
我在这里 On behalf of the government of the People's Republic of China, we invite you to come and visit the newest named city in Arkansas, China, Delphia. We are very pleased to own an American city. Our communist government is proud to do business with the mediocre state of Arkansas. We are happy to take your money and your trees and send the profits back home. The Communist government of China was pleased to learn the taxpayers of Arkansas are excited to contribute their money with the hope, if you build it, one day jobs will come. We are excited to take your fields of capitalism and turn them into fields of communism, where every Arkansan has nightly dreams of Mao. China is looking forward to our investment of $1 billion in what is now called Arkansas. We see this as an investment in our future, and that future will be called New Beijing. Chinese investment will make Arkansas a great place for jobs, as the People's Republic of China will succeed where the Soviets failed. As we build our roots deep in Arkansas, we are thrilled with the potential new ideas and advancement we will share with our people back home. Soon we will have the world's largest runway in the South China Sea, and we thank Arkansas for contributing to our noble cause. In closing, once we make China great again, all of you will see the glory of the revolution of Mao. And Arkansas, whatever you do, please never call the FBI.
Paul Harrell, parody.
Call the FBI for sure. Somebody need to be on the phone with him right now.
Determined to drain the swamp in Little Rock, it's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
Welcome back to the show. Hey, we really appreciate you guys being with us. Number 870-275-9799. So we're going to continue with this story, folks. It's absolutely unbelievable to me if you're just joining us. Not only do we have the headlines that are up at Conduit News and Conduit for Action about the governor and his son on a trip to China together, not only do we know that the governor's law firm has corporate clients that are Chinese businesses, Chinese firms, or communist Chinese entities disguised as businesses, TY Garments, Rise Ever that opened in Jonesboro. Not only are they getting taxpayer incentives, and not only are they they're paying the governor's law firm for access. We have, do you guys remember the link that Asa the Three posted a couple of weeks ago, where they announced that they have a new office in Madrid, in Spain. As a matter of fact, if you go to the Asa Hutchinson Law Firm, which is the ahlawgroup.com, that would be the website, and you go over to news, the latest news was back on October the 4th, Asa Hutchinson Law Group expands to Europe. Now this, to me, this is their own description of themselves. This is their own press release. And the governor's law firm is advertising the fact that Asa Hutchinson is governor, and they're using that as a way to make money and look like they are movers and shakers and very well connected. Does anybody think that TY Garments and Rise Ever would be doing business with the Asa Hutchinson Law Group if they weren't getting economic development deals in the United States? Listen to how they bill themselves. Quote, Asa Hutchinson Law Group is a firm of lawyers and professionals with offices in the United States and a representation office in China, with the following practice areas: immigration law, trademarks, labor and employment, corporate law, commercial contracts and litigation, and international arbitration. As a part of their international expansion plans, they have recently opened their first office in Europe, located in Madrid. The firm offers comprehensive and personalized service tailored to the needs of each individual or company that may have personal or business interests in the United States and or Spain. The partners of the firm, who have vast professional experience and with great knowledge in the areas of practice they offer to clients, are Asa Hutchinson III, who focuses on commercial litigation, immigration law, and intellectual property, and whose father, Asa Hutchinson, is the firm's founder and current governor of the state of Arkansas, with an exceptional career in both the legal profession and the public sector. At the end, it concludes, the law firm has excellent political and business relations in the United States, Mexico, and Spain, and its team of professionals has the knowledge, capacity, and resources to provide personalized service with impeccable quality in English, Spanish, and French. Those resources are taxpayer dollars. Now, if you're just joining us, we broke this story yesterday. Okay, it's now getting got picked up yesterday afternoon by the Arkansas Times, Max Brantley, or at least they reported on it. They didn't. They said they had a source. I don't know. Maybe we have the same source, Max. I tweeted at you. If you're just joining us, the development here is another one of the governor's law firm's clients is an American company by the name of iStation. Joe, can you show iStation's website once again? Just to kind of give you a feel. Blended learning for reading, math, and Spanish. They provide assessments to schools. They will test. There you go. You see the website there. iStation. It's iStation, the letter I, station.com. I think the full name is Imagination Station. If you go to the website, transparency.arkansas.gov, and you click on contracts, you must click on contracts, and then you click on vendor. And if you search the word iStation, you will come up with this document. Joe, this document says that the state of Arkansas's Department of Education contracts with the governor's law firm's client, Imagination Station, to the tune of $3.78 million. $3,787,200. So it's not just a Chinese problem, folks. It's an access issue. It's how much of that $3.7 million is used to give Asa Hutchinson's law group a monthly retainer. They're listed on their website along with the other Chinese companies, along with Walmart. Now, I don't know about you, but this is absolutely unacceptable. If you are somebody that really loves the governor's policies, great, good for you. If you're somebody that believes that the governor's leadership has been good, I don't personally, but that's because I believe in more freedom than most people, I think. And that just is. It's, okay, we can agree to disagree. He's the governor. People voted for him. I didn't. It is what it is. Surely we can all agree that this is absolutely unacceptable and it needs to be investigated further. And let's hope that the Arkansas Democrat Gazette will report on this front page above the fold and list everything. List the photos, reference the fact that Asa III is now in China with his dad, having his photo taken at U.S. Embassy gatherings, having a photo taken with his own client, his dad, who's governor, in China at TY Garments. How much money is TY Garments paying the governor's law firm? And I say it's the governor's law firm because Asa Hutchinson, the governor, his name is still listed at the top when you click on lawyers. Back in a minute.
Folks, as a taxpayer or business owner, I know the government rarely gives the people a break. Big government politicians seem to always want more money from us, taxpayers. So if you want to support the work we're doing right here at Conduit News, bringing you the truth, then why not consider giving less money to the government that never stops overspending and overtaxing us by giving a tax-deductible donation to Conduit for Commerce, the premier organization in Arkansas that never stops promoting small business and limited government. Just go to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Support Our Cause. From there, you can decide if you want to donate monthly or one time. Give the government that's using your tax dollars to grow and grow less, and give the people fighting for your values more. Conduitforcommerce.org.
South Arkansas, in Arkansas.
The Communist Party has set its sights on controlling 90% of the world's most advanced industries, including robotics, biotechnology, and artificial intelligence. To win the commanding heights of the 21st century economy, Beijing has directed its bureaucrats and businesses to obtain American intellectual property, the foundation of our economic leadership, by any means necessary.
Chairman Lee and I met yesterday. Chairman Lee indicated to me that Sun Paper has selected Arkadelphia in Clark County as the location of a $1 billion bioproducts mill.
Beijing now requires many American businesses to hand over their trade secrets as the cost of doing business in China. It also coordinates and sponsors the acquisition of American firms to gain ownership of their creations. Worst of all, Chinese security agencies have masterminded the wholesale theft of American technology, including cutting-edge military blueprints. And using that stolen technology, the Chinese Communist Party is turning plowshares into swords on a massive scale.
Well, thank you all for joining us via Skype from Beijing this morning. Here in Beijing, it is 10 p.m. in the evening. I've had a very successful trip to China.
China now spends as much on its military as the rest of Asia combined. And Beijing has prioritized capabilities to erode America's military advantages on land, at sea, in the air, and in space.
I've spoken at Tsinghua University here in Beijing, which was a treat for me to speak with young Chinese students about Arkansas, and also to talk about the relationship between China and the United States.
China wants nothing less than to push the United States of America from the Western Pacific and attempt to prevent us from coming to the aid of our allies. But they will fail. Beijing is also using its power like never before. Chinese ships routinely patrol around the Senkaku Islands, which are administered by Japan. And while China's leaders stood in the Rose Garden at the White House in 2015 and said that his country had, and I quote, no intention to militarize the South China Sea, today, Beijing has deployed advanced anti-ship and anti-air missiles atop an archipelago of military bases constructed on artificial islands. China's aggression was on display this week when a Chinese naval vessel came within 45 yards of the USS Decatur as it conducted freedom of navigation operations in the South China Sea, forcing our ship to quickly maneuver to avoid collision. Despite such reckless harassment, the United States Navy will continue to fly, sail, and operate wherever international law allows and our national interests demand. We will not be intimidated, and we will not stand down.
And we'll be calling on multiple prospects in China, as well as continuing our relationship with Sun Paper in Shandong Province.
In recent years, China has taken a sharp U-turn toward control and oppression of its own people. Today, China has built an unparalleled surveillance state.
I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers.
They seem to be in full-scale retreat from spending cuts and are talking about raising people's taxes again. And I have only one thing to say to the tax increasers. Go ahead, make my day.
If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. Those who would trade our freedom for security have embarked on this downward course. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell is on now.
Hey, folks, it's hour number 2. Welcome back to the show. We have Brigadier General Robert Spalding, retired U.S. Air Force. Also, he's a senior fellow at the Hudson Institute. He's going to be on the program coming up at 7:33. We're going to talk a little more about China and the threat. The trade war may be winding down. We're not really sure. But the bottom line is, there's still a lot of tension, and we have Governor Asa Hutchinson's son, Asa 3. He is out there saying that just because we've got a trade war doesn't mean we can't still do business with the Chinese government and state and local leaders. The guy gets his photo taken with TY garments. He's on a trip with his father, an economic development trip. Max Brantley reporting over at the Arkansas Times that the governor's press secretary has said, quote, he traveled to and from Asia at his own expense and separately. He is not part of the official Arkansas delegation. If you go to this photo, though, that was posted on LinkedIn, it certainly looks like he's part of the official delegation. Joe, can you go ahead and show this? This is from Dr. Tim Klatt, who was at the same U.S. Embassy event. Yeah, there it is right there. You see that. What he posted was, you zoom in, yeah, we zoom in there. That's Asa 3 right there behind that Chinese guy. The one standing next to Asa. Honored to join tonight's embassy reception of government and business leaders from Arkansas. One of those business leaders is an attorney named Asa 3, whose client is TY Garments. They had their photo taken the other day. And this is the governor's law firm. I want you to know that. His name is still listed. When you click on attorneys on the website, Asa Hutchinson comes up. In their own press releases, they tout how Asa is the governor of Arkansas and that they are well connected. Yes, this is just like, it's a smaller microcosm, just like Hunter Biden getting these sweet deals because of who his dad was. It's exactly like that. We broke last hour. If you're just joining us, it's not just Chinese clients. We can report to you today that there is an American client listed on the governor's law firm's website called iStation. iStation is an educational resource company that does assessments and testing via computers in our schools. iStation has a contract with the Arkansas Department of Education, according to transparency.arkansas.gov, for $3.7 million. iStation knows what they had to do, right? Well, how in the world are we going to get this contract with the state of Arkansas? Well, what do? Oh, well, the governor has a law firm, and his son, Asa 3, who, by the way, has a lot in common with Hunter Biden, just in terms of, his public problems with substance abuse. Hunter Biden is a known drug addict, and Asa 3 has had, what is it, 3 or 4 DWIs, and he's gotten off on a few of them with technicalities. There's a lot of similarities here. I personally cannot believe the arrogance, the absolute arrogance. The fact that Hunter Biden and Joe Biden are in the news for doing what they've done, the fact that Asa Hutchinson would think it's a good idea, whether his son was a part of the official delegation or not. Let's assume that the government's telling the truth here, and let's assume that Asa 3 came on his own dime. It's not really his own dime there. Asa 3 wouldn't be there if he wasn't making money, and that's exactly what he's doing. And I have another question I would like to pose. 2 weeks ago, the United States Department of State, they issued a new rule, and they said that if any Chinese national here in the United States meets with state and local officials, that they have to report to the State Department that they had the meeting. Now, I have no idea how long this economic development trip was been planned. I don't know. But I will tell you this. There's no mandatory reporting when it comes to what they discussed at TY Garments the other day. But they would have had to report it if there were representatives of TY in Arkansas trying to have a meeting with Mike Preston, the Secretary of Commerce, or Asa Hutchinson. Asa 3 wouldn't be there if he wasn't making money for his father's law firm. I'll tell you that much right now. Why? I mean, the fact that he's there on his own dime raises even more questions. Because you wouldn't, and it's probably taxpayer money, that's just been, essentially changing hands. I mean, think about it. Just take the domestic company, take the Texas company, iStation, the educational company.
This is wire fraud with extra steps.
Yeah. Wait, yeah, exactly. Wait, that's just money laundering with extra steps. Listen, you don't think that iStation takes that $3.7 million that they get from the state of Arkansas and tie the portion of it back to the Asa Hutchinson Law Group? I mean, why else would listen? And I'll make this prediction again. I do think they're due back from their Chinese Japanese economic development tour. They're due back on November the 9th, so in 2 days. My prediction is Asa Hutchinson's name, the governor's name, will be scrubbed from his own website by the time they get back. I'm telling you right now, especially if this makes the front page of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, which it should. This is something that Democrats, Republicans, independents, liberals, conservatives should all agree. This is wrong. This is resignation type stuff, in my opinion, because this is wrong. This is using your office to make money for your kids, and not to mention the governor is going to walk into all of this when he goes back to work at his own law firm, bears his name once he's out of office. And now we know, by the way, why the governor said that the impeachment inquiry into the President of the United States, Donald Trump, should be hashed out. Now we know why President Donald Trump's call to the Ukrainian president was called, quote, unwise, end quote, by Governor Asa Hutchinson. And its source, you can go to conduitforaction.org right now, and you can go, you'll find the link at the bottom of the source there. We've got 2 articles from the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Let's see here. This first one says the headline, Arkansas governor says Trump's call with Ukraine leader was unwise conversation. The allegations raised should be taken seriously, the Republican governor said. The president should have wide latitude in conversation with global leaders, but we need to probe into that. I mean, everybody has known. I mean, if you are a Republican and you're not Mitt Romney or Asa Hutchinson, you know that this whole impeachment inquiry is a bunch of baloney. You know that the, quote, favor was asking about 2016 in CrowdStrike. They have to omit 540 words to say, do me a favor, and then mention the Bidens. We now have the Democrats' key witness. The transcript was released. Their key star witness admits that Ukraine had no knowledge that the funding was even, that there couldn't have been a quid pro quo because Ukraine didn't even know that their funding was being held up. And Republicans have known this forever. I mean, the fact is that everything they accused Donald Trump of doing in Russia that they did not find, the Democrats did do with the Ukraine. And it takes Asa Hutchinson. It all makes sense. Yeah, investigate the president. He shouldn't be looking into Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. You don't think that? You don't think when he found out Donald Trump and Hunter Biden being on the board of Burisma, using his dad's name, making $50,000 a month, you don't think he knows that his son? And that's what's so crazy about this. In light of that, Asa 3 goes on this trip with them. Oh, he paid at his own expense. The man is checking in. We've got these screenshots, by the way, but it's going to be easiest to get them at the. Go back to the Arkansas Times article, Joe. Asa Hutchinson III on Facebook. The man's flaunting it on Facebook. Checked in to the residence of the U.S. ambassador in China. Checked in to Shanghai, China. It's all right there. And then, of course, we have this photo. Oh, look, we haven't even covered this one. Hey, can we go to this? Go scrolling down here. This is the big photo on the LinkedIn. This is what started it all for me. Despite the tariff wars, Asa 3 says state and local governments in China and the U.S. can still collaborate to strengthen economic ties. Thank you, T.Y. Garments. It's one of his clients. And you have Asa with his client, T.Y., with his dad, and Mike Preston right next to him. All right, now scroll down because I want to get to this. Back on October 24th, Asa Hutchinson III was in Jonesboro, and he took this photo with State Senator John Cooper. You've got Asa 3, Asa the governor, Mike Preston, John Cooper. Look at this. I mean, Senator John Cooper, who's running for re-election, having his photo taken at the Rise Ever event. Okay, so Rise Ever's the Chinese company that is also one of Asa, the governor's law firm's clients. And I'm just wondering here. I mean, I don't know. Do you think that that Senator John Cooper knows that Asa 3 is representing Rise Ever, and Rise Ever gets $1 million from the governor's Quick Action Closing Fund? Rise Ever, gets economic development incentives, this Chinese company, to move and open and come to Jones. Do you think this is corruption, folks? You say, well, it may not be illegal. It may not be. It also may be, but at the very least, it's legal graft. It's legal graft. Let's do it, right? We love to go to this quote here from George Washington Plunkett. Okay. This is the book, A Republic No More. We love this book. We've interviewed Jay Cost, the author, about this book and his other books. Here it is. George Washington Plunkett, quote, everybody is talking these days about Tammany men growing rich on graft, but nobody thinks of drawing the distinction between honest graft and dishonest graft. There's all the difference in the world between the two. I've not gone in for dishonest graft, blackmailing, gamblers, saloon keepers, disorderly people, etc., although I think Asa 3 probably would like the saloons. And neither has any of the men who've made big fortunes in politics. This is about making big fortunes in politics for sure. Quote, there's an honest graft, and I'm an example of how it works. I might sum up the whole thing by saying, I seen my opportunities and I took them. Boy, Asa 3 certainly, right? Yep. I seen my opportunities and I took them. I mean, that works if you're being arrested for your third DWI. What are my opportunities here? Oh, yeah, my dad's the governor. I'm going to get off with a technicality. I seen my opportunities and I took them. Oh, wow, there's this law firm. I can work for my dad's law firm and I can get all these Chinese clients that we're doing economic development deals with. I seen my opportunities and I took them. George Washington Plunkett went on. Just let me explain my examples. My party's in power in the city, and it's going to undertake a lot of public improvements. That sounds a lot like economic development and jobs, doesn't it, folks? See, this has all been done before, hasn't it? My party's in power in the city, and it's going to undertake a lot of public improvements. Well, I'm tipped off. Say they're going to lay out a new park at a certain place. I see my opportunity, and I take it. I go to that place, and I buy up all the land I can in the neighborhood. Then the board of this or that, maybe the Arkansas Economic Development Commission, then the board of this or that makes its plan public, and there's a rush to get my land, which nobody cared particular for before. End quote. Jay Cost writes, there was nothing honest about Plunkett's fraud, but he was on to something in drawing the distinction he did. Dishonest graft is criminal activity that harms people directly, whereas honest graft is technically legal and the victim is the common good, not a particular individual. What Plunkett was doing in his day would be outlawed today, but honest graft nevertheless survives in different forms, always changing to stay one step ahead of the law. Why is this the case? The answer to that question is the subject of this book, A Republic No More. Thanks a lot, Hutchinson family. You're running this state like carpetbaggers. I'm sick of it. Back in just a moment. 1 minute.
Folks, as a taxpayer or business owner, I know the government rarely gives the people a break. Big government politicians seem to always want more money from us, taxpayers. So if you want to support the work we're doing right here at Conduit News, bringing you the truth, then why not consider giving less money to the government that never stops overspending and overtaxing us by giving a tax-deductible donation to Conduit for Commerce, the premier organization in Arkansas that never stops promoting small business and limited government. Just go to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Support Our Cause. From there, you can decide if you want to donate monthly or one time. Give the government that's using your tax dollars to grow and grow less, and give the people fighting for your values more. Conduitforcommerce.org.
And it's growing more expansive and intrusive, often with the help of U.S. technology. And when it comes to religious freedom, a new wave of persecution is crashing down on Chinese Christians, Buddhists, and Muslims.
Bringing you your daily dose of truth. It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
Will there be one state representative or one state senator that will call this wrong? That's the next question. Is what does the Arkansas General Assembly do? I mean, there's still one session coming up where the governor technically would have would have power. Right? There's still technically 2021 is his last go at getting what he wants done. But I just don't see how you could ever, if you're a legislator, even if you're a legislator that has been kind of on his agenda, or in his good graces, I just don't see how you can continue to trust anything that he's saying. When he's got his own law firm and his son running it and going on trips with him to China, and we don't know. We don't know how much TY Garments, the Chinese Communist Company, is paying the Asa Hutchinson law firm. We don't know how much Rise Ever is paying. We don't know how much iStation, this news story that we've just broken here at Conduit News. The domestic company locally in Texas, iStation, has a Department of Education contract of almost $4 million, $3.7 million. And they are a corporate client on the Asa Hutchinson law firm website. So I don't know, man. I'm telling you, you can obviously tell I'm frustrated by this, but there's got to be legislators that have got to come out and they've got to say something about this. They have got to do. I mean, listen. Obviously, I'm not blind. I obviously have policy disagreements with the governor, massive ones. I have ever since he's been governor since 2015. From him not wanting to sign the original Religious Freedom Restoration Act, to Arkansas Works, to his spending problem. I have massive. So, you got to take what I say with a grain of salt, right? But I don't see how there would not be a legitimate call for resignation based on this. If not, it has to at least be addressed. Like, if the governor himself, to save his credibility, is going to have to address this issue. And I don't see how. I mean, if the Arkansas Democrat Gazette doesn't want to report on this, it's only a matter of time before, say, a leftist website that goes national picks it up, and then the Washington Post will pick it up. Do you know why the Washington Post will be interested in this story? It's very simple: to provide cover for Joe and Hunter Biden. They would be so interested in this because they'd be able to look and point to a Republican governor, even though he is a Trump critic, Asa is, even though now we know why Asa supported the impeachment investigation into the president, because the president was trying to investigate Ukraine and all the Democrats' corruption there with Joe and Hunter Biden. Now we know why Asa supported it. The Washington Post, leave it up to Arkansas, by the way, Arkansas's governor, leave it up to us to give the left ammunition to make it seem like what Hunter and Joe Biden did was perfectly normal. See, the Republicans do it too. We're all corrupt, so it doesn't matter. Thanks a lot. Once again, really appreciate it, guys. Way to go. We're on the verge. We're on this right here, the Republic No More. You know what we're on the verge of right now, thanks to President Donald Trump? And I know some of you don't believe this. The man, by draining the swamp, is trying to restore that word. He's trying to restore the Republic. And that's why they're treating him like a virus. That's why the entire Washington, D.C. apparatus and the deep state, the immune system is kicked up into the high gear it has. We're on the verge of actually getting some justice. And we've got this now. Thanks a lot, guy. You decided to bring your kid along, who's making all this money off of these Arkansas economic development deals. Or you say maybe not directly, but they're, if you're doing business with, by the way, this now we know why ASA's claiming in the middle of the tariff war. We know why ASA ignores the red flags, ignores the national security concerns of Rick Crawford when it comes to doing business with the communist Chinese. Now we know why. We can interpret his statements. When ASA said, well, the tariffs are tough, but, it's not a big, they're just Chinese investors, and they're looking at the market like anybody would. Now we know why the governor just is ignoring the fact that these are not Chinese businesses. These are communist entities disguised as companies that are playing the United States. They're stealing our intellectual property, and that they're Trojan horses. They're not here to help us. You cannot trust them. And so the fact that the governor's law firm is doing business with the Communist Chinese Party, that's the story here, in my opinion. The governor's law firm is taking money from the communist Chinese because TY Garments isn't a company. They answer to the Communist Chinese Party. Rise Ever isn't a Chinese company, or isn't a company. They are communists. They do what the government says. They don't have freedom. Their goal is a 100-year plan to usurp the United States as a world power. And our guy, we now know why. I have asked for a year, why is ASA pursuing so many deals with China? Why do they want to rename Arkadelphia Chinadelphia? That's a joke, by the way. Don't take that literally. We now know why. Because his law firm is taking money from those companies. Share the story right now at conduitforaction.org with your friends. There will be a follow-up story about the news we broke just a second ago. If you're just joining us, the other client of the governor's law firm, iStation out of Dallas, Texas, has a contract with the state of Arkansas Department of Education for $3.7 million to test our students on computers. How's that for computer coding?
Folks, as a taxpayer or business owner, I know the government rarely gives the people a break. Big government politicians seem to always want more money from us, taxpayers. So if you want to support the work we're doing right here at Conduit News, bringing you the truth, then why not consider giving less money to the government that never stops overspending and overtaxing us by giving a tax-deductible donation to Conduit for Commerce, the premier organization in Arkansas that never stops promoting small business and limited government. Just go to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Support Our Cause. From there, you can decide if you want to donate monthly or one time. Give the government that's using your tax dollars to grow and grow less, and give the people fighting for your values more. Conduitforcommerce.org.
Last month, Beijing shut down one of China's largest underground churches. Across the country, authorities are tearing down crosses, burning Bibles, and imprisoning believers. And Beijing has now reached a deal with the Vatican that gives the avowedly atheist Communist Party a direct role in appointing Catholic bishops. For China's Christians, these are
Tent your
desperate
ride with
times.
Arkansas's #1 tent shop for quality and service. Super Tents on Nettleton in Jonesboro. A Super Tents tent job is going to make your car look cooler. It's going to insulate your ride from the outdoor elements, keeping it warmer in the winter and cooler in the summer. A Super Tents tent job will give you the privacy that you deserve, whether you're driving down the road or parking out in public. Plus, Super Tents window film will protect your interior and your skin from those harmful UV rays. Call for quotes and to book appointments. 870-933-TENT. 870-933-TINT. Tent your ride.
We need to carry. The American people deserve to know. In response to the strong stand that President Trump has taken, Beijing is pursuing a comprehensive and coordinated campaign to undermine support for the president, our agenda, and our nation's most cherished ideals.
I think you've got to listen to what he says and how he conducts himself. And I don't know that he would be that different from what he is now in negotiating with Vladimir Putin. So,
you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
No, I don't think it's a good thing. We need people who, in the presidency, that understand how the world works, understands that there's a time for bluster and there's a time for reason.
The Chinese Communist Party is rewarding or coercing American businesses, movie studios, universities, think tanks, scholars, journalists, and local, state, and federal officials.
And then, Chairman, you'll look out in the audience and you'll see multiple members of the governor's cabinet. We're also here to support you.
Find out more at conduitnews.com.
Welcome back to the program. Thanks so much for being with us today. We're going to go now. We've got General Robert S. Spalding. He's from the Hudson Institute, retired U.S. Air Force Brigadier General. Robert, how are you this morning, sir? Oh, you put us in program 1. I'm sorry. The phone line. There you are. Robert, we got you now. Robert, can you hear me? Huh. Do we not have Robert? See if we can't ring him, get him back on the line. Because I'm not, we must have dropped the call. So yeah, just call him back real quick. We'll get him back on. Telephone number 870-275-9799. I mean, we had him, but now we don't have him. So it is what it is. If you're just joining us, I mean, what a wild day it's been, man. It's been a crazy 24 hours. You know, and I have to say I am a little bit encouraged with all of this news because I can't tell you how many people are contacting me about this issue, about what's now in the news. If you're just joining us, yesterday on the program, we covered this photo that was up on LinkedIn. And the photo was of Governor Asa Hutchinson, his son, and the executives from TY Garments in China. And that's when everybody said, oh, wow, the governor's got his son on this economic development trip. Then that led to his website, the law firm, the governor's law firm, with his name on it, his son's name on it. And then that led to all these clients, these Chinese businesses. And then we started looking into some of the other clients. And if you're just joining us, one of the domestic clients for the law firm that's listed on the website right there publicly is called iStation. And iStation has a contract with the Arkansas Department of Education for $3.7 million. We can report that to you today. All you have to do, we've got the documents, we've shown them all through the day. You just go to transparency.arkansas.gov, and it's right there. You click on contracts, and you search iStation in the vendor search bar, and it comes right up. $3.7 million is what their contract is worth. So, we're exposing all of this, and it's difficult because, there's a lot of people out there that don't want to address corruption, but we're going to. Hey, joining us now, we've got Brigadier General Robert Spaulding is back with us, Senior Fellow at the Hudson Institute. Robert, how's it going, sir?
Good, thank you.
I appreciate you having you on. It's always great to have you on and talk about the kind of the big picture stuff with China. What is the update? I mean, I saw the mainstream media, they're posting about a potential phase 1 of a trade deal with the Trump administration, and I know you studied this and you've helped the Trump administration on their China policy. What can you tell us? What are the latest developments?
So there's the media in China are reporting that the tariffs are going to be taken off as a component of phase 1 of the trade deal. I haven't heard anything from the administration attesting to that fact, but that would be a real tragedy considering the fact that we're never going to get manufacturing to come back to the United States unless there's a level playing field, and these tariffs actually create a level playing field for companies to bring manufacturing back to the United States and create manufacturing jobs. So that's a concern of mine. I don't know, where it's going to go. Quite frankly, the administration and all of D.C. are getting bombarded by people that you're talking about, just before I came on, about, how they're being incentivized by the Chinese Communist Party to essentially put the American people to the back of the line.
Really? So, I mean, I've shared with you a little bit about what we're facing here at home and what we're uncovering. And there's clearly a financial incentive from the Communist Chinese. They clearly are. And I think this is why a couple of weeks ago, the State Department, they released this rule that says, hey, if there's any Chinese nationals in the United States and they meet with state or local government officials, they have to disclose the meeting. That was a change in the rule, wasn't it?
It absolutely is, and the State Department's also doing things like revoking visas for so-called media members who basically come in and get a check mark that they're a media member, and really we don't track them anymore. They go throughout the country. What the Chinese Communist Party seeks to do is incentivize the elites to be on their side. So in essence, co-opting them to do things that the Chinese Communist Party wants, and this is the endemic in Wall Street, in corporate America, in D.C., in think tanks, and law firms, and lobbying firms, and consulting firms. When I was at the White House, every time I would call asking for either help exposing the Chinese, what Chinese were doing from a think tank or a law firm, or looking for policy options, they told me, sorry, can't help, don't want to upset our Chinese funders or Chinese customers. So these economic and financial relationships create the ability for these institutions that we've relied on to protect our democratic principles to essentially be co-opted and do according to the way the Chinese Communist Party wants. And the NBA is only the latest example of that.
Yeah, I think, honestly, that you're exactly right. The NBA is the latest example of that, where we see these institutions that we think are for, American entertainment. We are becoming more like China China's not becoming more like us, correct?
That's exactly right. And if you study the 5,000-year history of the Chinese people, they've been invaded and conquered numerous times. And each time what they've done is essentially absorbed the invaders and turned them into Chinese. And so it was incredible hubris on the part of the United States, thinking that we could connect them to globalization, the Internet, and then we would transform them into democracy. What they're doing is transforming us to totalitarianism.
Yeah. And they're they're getting us to embrace communism. Can I get you to talk? And I don't know if this is one of your your areas of study when you look at the Chinese relationship, but we're told here in Arkansas these are just companies, TY Garments or Rise Ever or whatever. We're told that they're just companies like everybody else, and I have been saying no, these are just entities that are loyal to the Communist Party. Which one is true?
Well, by Chinese law, they have to have an element of the Communist Party within the company. So the Chinese Communist Party controls every company in the country, because they control the entire country. There is a extrajudicial, in the way we would think about it, layer of bureaucracy over the top of the government that rides over the top of everything. So it's not just government, but business and academia. So absolutely, these companies are controlled by the Communist Party. There was just a media release about 2 weeks ago about all the government officials that were actually being transferred out of the government into companies so that they could monitor their companies. So anybody that says that there's a distinction between the Communist Party and any company in China just really doesn't understand that system.
Yeah, or is, in our case, I kind of feel like I know why they're convinced now. I mean, we have a law firm where they're taking money from them, and it's the governor's law firm, and his son appears to be running it for now. We are, I can't believe this. Honestly, I can't believe that we're here, and there is. Can you address a little bit about what you know about Joe Biden and Hunter Biden and what happened, or just remind us what happened in China, specifically China, with Joe and Hunter Biden?
Yeah, so 10 days after he rides on Air Force Two with Joe Biden to China, Hunter Biden becomes a part of Bohai Harvest, which is a $1.5 billion hedge fund, Chinese financed hedge fund. And so what everybody will say, and including the Bidens, will say, well, there's no quid pro quo. And the deal is, it's not a quid pro quo that the Chinese look for per se. What they're looking for is agreement on the worldview that China wants, which is we keep not providing, employment opportunities for Americans in terms of manufacturing, so that the Communist Party can have those employment opportunities for their own people, and that's how they maintain legitimacy in China, the ability to rule, by having such a repressive government, because what they're promising them is that we're going to give you continued economic growth. So Europe's been flat for 30 years, Asia's been flat for 30 years, America's been flat for 30 years. Why? Because all the elites of all of these areas have essentially been co-opted by the Communist Party, and the idea was open markets would lead to wealth, and wealth would lead to democracy in China, and Chinese just are laughing all the way to the bank.
So this money that they can invest, they're a developing nation under the World Trade Organization rules, and yet they can invest billions of dollars in other countries. Where is that money coming from? Isn't it ours to begin with?
It's coming from us. It's coming from our retirement funds. $400 billion in this year alone, because what happened was the tariffs were constricting their ability to get U.S. dollars. So what they did is they put pressure on Morgan Stanley Capital International, the indexer that all of these retirement funds follows, for the emerging markets market for equities. And so essentially, 20% of those emerging market portfolios have moved into Chinese companies, which, and if you go look at on the December of 2018 statement from the SEC, Chinese companies do not have to comply with audit or transparency requirements of a U.S. company. So not only are the investment officers sending your retirement to China, you don't even know what you're getting. And the SEC knows this and will do nothing about it, quite frankly, because the SEC is in league with the Wall Street.
Wow. What if we actually do get a trade deal with China? What are the odds that they're even going to abide by it? How do we hold them accountable? And do you maybe see a future without a trade deal, but the United States starts to ink some trade deals with Japan or surrounding Asian countries, and then just let China make separate deals with those other countries?
That's exactly what the national security strategy calls for. The problem is corporate America and Wall Street and everybody else are putting pressure on the administration to essentially back down because, again, they're being essentially financed for this by the Chinese Communist Party. And so to the extent that we don't actually do that, we're going to find that, eventually we're going to be bankrupt because that's the entire game that they're playing. The same game, by the way, that we played with the Soviets. And so that's what we're looking at in 2014 to 2016 in the Pentagon, that we've gotten ourselves in a situation that now the shoe was on the other foot, and the Chinese were basically forcing us into bankruptcy. One of the ways that they do it is by forcing us to increase defense spending to cover all of these, challenges, Russia, Iran, North Korea, all of which that they're financing.
Wow. How successful, though, has the president, is he trying to turn the ship, which is really like a giant aircraft carrier? It takes time, but the president obviously is trying to stop this from happening, right?
Yeah, well, clearly. But the problem is it's really about, right now, it's about the tariffs. And before China entered the WTO in 2001, they could not get tariffs. They had to have a vote in Congress every single year on tariffs. And there was two things they were looking at. One was, do they have a market economy? Absolutely not. They do not have a market economy. And two, what is their human rights and democratic principles record? And every year they had to go through that. And no major corporation would invest money in that country until that most favored nation trading status went away when they entered the WTO. Their economy was less than $1 trillion of GDP at that time. They've grown 13 times. Their economy has grown 13 times since they entered the WTO. And we lost 70,000 factories. So what has to happen is those tariffs against China, in order to rebalance the playing field, to ensure that manufacturing can actually come back to the United States, they have to be made permanent against China because they are absolutely not going to a market economy anytime soon, as long as the Communist Party has control of that country.
We're talking with Brigadier General Robert S. Spalding, Senior Fellow at the Hudson Institute. The Hudson Institute is where the Vice President last year gave this speech against China. We've got a supercut of that speech, and then we cut back to our governor who keeps inking deals with communist entity after communist entity, bringing them into the state. General Spalding, the Vice President, recently did another, I think this time he was at the Woodrow Wilson Institute or something, but he gave another speech on China. I wanted to get your reaction on over the last couple of weeks, Vice President Mike Pence, his new speech. What did you think of it?
Well, I think it was a good speech. Of course, what he was saying was, look, you have to play by the rules. You play by the rules, and we're happy to do business with you. You don't play by the rules, and we're not going to do business with you. I would point you to Secretary Pompeo's speech last week at a Hudson Institute award dinner where he got an award, and he spoke for 16 minutes. And if you listen to that 16-minute speech, you're going to get a synopsis of where this country is going if the president continues to fulfill what's in the national security strategy. And in the audience, by the way, at the table where Pompeo was sitting for dinner was Dr. Kissinger. So he made this speech in front of Dr. Kissinger. I encourage everybody to listen to it because it can tell you exactly where the country's going. But you know what? The president needs support. He needs support from the people because corporate America and Wall Street are basically trying to box him in the corner on these tariffs.
Wow. Brigadier General Spalding, it's always great to talk to you, sir. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
I think we now know, folks, why the governor supported the impeachment inquiry into the president. I mean, he's on record saying it was unwise to have the phone call with Ukraine. And now I think we know, given the fact that his son is on this economic development trip, with his, with the delegation. Now the government saying not officially part of the delegation, but we've got photos at the U.S. ambassador now. This is a huge story. We're going to give you more, going to recap everything that we've reported on today. When we come back, don't go anywhere. Back in just a moment.
Folks, as a taxpayer or business owner, I know the government rarely gives the people a break. Big government politicians seem to always want more money. Big government politicians seem to always want more money from us, taxpayers. So if you want to support the work we're doing right here at Conduit News, bringing you the truth, then why not consider giving less money to the government that never stops overspending and overtaxing us by giving a tax-deductible donation to Conduit for Commerce, the premier organization in Arkansas that never stops promoting small business and limited government. Just go to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Support Our Cause. From there, you can decide if you want to donate monthly or one time. Give the government that's using your tax dollars to grow and grow less, and give the people fighting for your values more. Conduitforcommerce.org.
You'll see multiple members of the state legislative assembly. They're here to support you, and specifically Senator Caldwell, Senator Ingram, Representative Murdoch, Representative Hollowell. These are your senators and your representatives now. You call on them, and they're going to help you. Guarantee it. And Senator English, I saw you out there too. Thank you for being here as well.
As we speak, Beijing is employing a whole-of-government approach, using political, economic, and military tools as well as propaganda to advance its influence and benefit its interests in the United States.
Folks,
money, power, prestige, essence, available now from aristocrats serving Arkansas. From Zenata Rhino Collection, the fragrance of backroom deals, nepotism, the aroma of higher taxes, subliminal deception, deep state, made right here in Arkansas by a taxpayer-funded Chinese factory. Every bottle carefully crafted for you. Gender neutral. Nothing says aristocrat like Essence of Bureaucrat. Essence of Bureaucrat by Asa.
Available now in the Marble Palace gift shop.
Paul Harrell parody.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the show. Oh, hang on. Let me get the lady to say a few things. Thank you, lady. We appreciate it. By lady, I mean wife. We want the one on these are your senators, these are your representatives now. It's labeled specifically, like there's a quote. Yeah. All right. Well, it may not be the right one, but anyway. Folks, welcome back to the program. We're wrapping up the show. We've had an explosive day today. We can report to you a couple of things. We're honestly, I think we're just still I'm still kind of in collective shock because this has all been right here in front of me the whole time. I feel like a complete moron, I'll tell you that much. I definitely feel like a complete moron. I felt like I've let you guys down. The fact that the governor's son is on, the governor's law firm employs the governor's son. The governor's son and the law firm contract with Chinese companies right there in black and white on their website. The governor's son goes to China. The state of Arkansas, the press secretary, according to Max Brantley's report, is saying that, he went at his own expense, which is, fine, who cares? He wouldn't be there if he wasn't making money. He's with his own clients. He's with Mike Preston. He's at these big ambassador dinners and gatherings. And we've got the photos of it. All that is new. And we have the contract with iStation, another client of the governor's law firm. And they have a $3.7 million contract with the state of Arkansas to do computer testing of our young kids. And so I just still kind of in shock by all of this. And you need to share. There's the Conduit for Action article. Please share it. It's comprehensive. We now know, I think, why the governor has ignored the fact that these companies are really communist entities disguised as companies. I think we now know why the governor has ignored all of the red flags, ignoring Congressman Rick Crawford on the Intelligence Committee saying that China's a Trojan horse. Please do not do this. Economic development is great, but maybe not with the Chinese. I think we know now why. The governor's law firm, where he's still listed as the head, he's still listed at the top as the attorney. They advertise him as governor and being connected, and their clients are Chinese communist entities. The law firm is taking money from the communist Chinese. And here is Mike Preston a couple of years ago. Remember when he said this about
And Chairman, you'll look out in the audience and you'll see multiple members of the governor's cabinet. We're also here to support you. You'll see multiple members of the state legislative assembly. They're here to support you, and specifically Senator Caldwell, Senator Ingram, Representative Murdoch, Representative Hollowell. These are your senators and your representatives now. You call on them and they're going to help you. Guarantee it.
Absolutely.
And Senator English, I saw you out there
shameful.
too. Thank you for being here as well.
Absolutely shameful. This whole time, this is what's been going on. It's unbelievable. Will there be anybody in the State General Assembly that will call this out for what it is? If you're running for public office, just a little word of advice, I would encourage you not to seek the governor's endorsement. Once again, if you're running for public office, here's a public service announcement. Do not seek the governor's endorsement. I don't think you're going to want it. Also, will the mainstream media in this state pick this story up and do their jobs? I hope they do, and I hope they don't sugarcoat it. I hope they don't just take the government's line, because the government's going to have an explanation. They're going to try to say nothing to see here. Please do some investigation. Report about iStation. Report about the $3.7 million, almost $4 million in taxpayer money that's going to iStation that's a client of the governor's law firm. And I'm using the phrase the governor's law firm on purpose because it's his law firm. And his son is also running it. Please. There's got to be a level where we say Arkansas is not for sale, and it's certainly not for sale to China. That's all I got. Blast this. We're going to have videos of this. Blast it everywhere, folks. Let your friends know. This is very simple to understand why it's wrong. Whether you're a Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative, independent, it doesn't matter. This is very, and I know everyone's telling me to be careful. I know. Once again, I feel great. I love my family. I'm not suicidal. So just letting everybody know that as well. But get this story out there, folks. Arkansas, be safe.